Welcome to Riverstick's Nonfiction Q&A series, RSNF. I'm Claire Walla, Nonfiction Editor at Riversticks, and I'm joined by Riverstick's Assistant Editor, Matt Torralba Andrews. Today we're speaking with our guest, Tobey Ward, about our essay, Footnotes on the First Trimester, which readers and listeners can find in Riverstick's latest print issue, number 108, Chronicles. Tobey's writing has appeared in Aquifer, the Florida Review Online, Solstice, and the South Carolina Review, among others. She has an MFA in fiction from the University of Oregon and lives in Philadelphia, where she works as a copywriter and makes TikToks. Tobey, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
So, as suggested by its title, your essay is filled with citations. And we're wondering if you can speak about whether this seamless merging of your experiences with other authors' experiences was the initial idea behind your essay. And if so, why was that sentiment so important to convey?
First of all, thank you. I'm glad that you read it that way and that you thought it merged seamlessly. That makes me feel good. And no, it definitely wasn't the original idea. The original idea, I would say, was just to be in dialogue with these other writers. I wasn't in the beginning, in initial drafts of this piece. There were the quotes and my experiences were kind of separate, and I was, it was almost like a call and response kind of thing. I wanted to like pay homage to these other women's experiences because as women and mothers, I think that we kind of come to motherhood with this idea that nothing has been written about motherhood, which it's true that less has been written about motherhood than about lots of other topics, but there are so many brilliant writers who have written extensively about motherhood and so well and so insightfully. And as I was reading their work, I found myself over and over again just saying, yes, that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly what my experience is. And so I kind of wanted to acknowledge that they had all come before me. So to instead of trying to tell the story all over again, this same story of pregnancy, which had been told by these other women, and I didn't feel like I had it's not like I felt I didn't have anything to add to the conversation, but I felt kind of that they had said it the way I would have wanted to have said it already. So I just wanted to um give that like showcase those thoughts and their writing, and then also kind of connect it to my experiences. Yeah.
All the citations in the piece, as Matt was saying, they flow so seamlessly with the text. We were wondering how much like excavating you had to do with books you had already read, or how many books you hadn't read yet that you read while looking for quotations to put into the essay. Like, at what point of the research process did the essay really start to take shape? And did you find all these excellent quotes?
Yeah, so originally I was not reading those books for the purpose of writing an essay. I started reading them when my ex and I were talking about whether or not to have a kid. And I was just looking for other women's experiences. I didn't want to, I was like tired of the conventional narrative of motherhood, which is that a woman becomes, obsessed with her child, and motherhood is the greatest job she's ever had and like the most meaningful experience of her life. And I was like, I don't want that to be me. I can't imagine that being me. So I looked for books that gave kind of more nuanced and different um, ideas about motherhood. And so I started reading all of that before I even got pregnant. And I was like, some of those books I kept, and I had underlined passages, and some of them I actually gave away. And then when I was after my son was born, when he was maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2, maybe, I was at the Kenyan writers workshop with Grace Toulousan at her workshop. She's amazing. And we were doing all this work around like using documents as kind of the I don't know, the like starting point of a story, kind of using documentation and photos and sort of piecing memoir together through these external sources. And that's when I started to think about all of these books that I had read about motherhood. And I actually, when I got back from that, I wrote the first draft of the essay at that workshop, and I had a couple of the books with me. And then when I got back from the workshop, I reordered all of the books that I had read, the ones I had given away, I ordered them again. And then I kind of like skimmed them. The ones I had already read, I kind of skimmed, and I just underlined passages that spoke to me. I didn't really, they kind of fit into the narrative later, but in the beginning, it was kind of just figuring out where I was really identifying with these writers.
Sure. And your essay is structured into 13 sections, and each is numbered and relatively brief, actually almost kind of reminded me of footnotes themselves. And we're wondering, was this formatting intentional, and is that number 13 significant here?
Yes, the formatting was intentional. I think partially with the numbering, I was inspired by poetry, by the way that poets are in conversation with other poets, and often poem, like a very long poem, will be numbered. But in original drafts of this piece, I envisioned my experiences to be the footnotes. So the quotes to be the text, and then my experiences were the footnotes on the text. And so, yeah, I did want, and then I played with a lot of different formats where I wanted the whole thing to look like footnotes at the end of a book. So I had it like labeled like prologue with like numbers, and then like chapter 1 with numbers. And I was kind of trying to figure out how to imitate the footnote structure, but a lot of the ways that I tried were a little bit difficult to read. They were hard for the reader to kind of understand what I was doing. That was like early feedback that I got. So I tried to then I decided to pivot to making it more narrative and more chronological, and incorporate, and then kind of moving the quotes into the writing. There was an early draft also that had like a citation in the writing that would direct you to the footnote, and the quote would be in the footnote. So, I had all sorts of different ways, but ultimately I decided that like readability was more important than sort of the like trying to be kind of clever with it. But I'm glad that it came across as feeling like footnotes anyway. That's great. And yes, the number 13, there are 12 weeks in the first trimester. So the sections 1 through 12 are kind of like moving through the like pregnancy journey of like deciding to have a baby, or getting pregnant, all of that. And then kind of like the birth is the 12th section. And then the 13th section like moves kind of beyond the first trimester. It's kind of like what happens after.
Question. We always like to ask our guests whether you have a nonfiction reading recommendation.
Yeah, I was thinking about this question because I haven't read that much in recent months. But one of the one of the memoirs that I quote from in the essay is called Easy Beauty by Chloe Cooper Jones, I think. And that memoir I really loved, and I think is interesting and smart and relatable on many different levels. And it has a lot of interesting things to say about motherhood as well as many other things. So I definitely recommend that one.